Good morning. Coming to you live this morning from my kitchen table. It's not raining really hard here, but it's raining, so I just decided I wasn't going to get my hair wet. Ha ha ha. And but today we look at chapters 25 through 27 of First Chronicles, and David is preparing Israel for the time now when Solomon is going to become king, and of all of the people that are assigned to different tasks and positions, and the priests. We talked a little bit about the divisions of the priests and yesterday, but today verse chapter 25 talks about the musicians, and they separate some of the sons of all of these different people, and and it says who should prophesy with harps, stringed instruments, and cymbals, and then they talk about the number of the skilled men performing their services, and they list a lot of people. And then in verse 7, it talks about there were 288 of them. And then as we go on from there, it talks about the divisions of these 288. There are 24 divisions of them, so there's 12 in each division. And the first lot for Asaph came out for Joseph, the second for Gedaliah, and it doesn't tell us what each lot of people is going to do, but with 24 groups of 12 is the division of these musicians, and their task then is to make music to the Lord, to provide music for worship in the temple, and all of that. But in verse 6 of this chapter, it says, all were under the direction of their father for the music in the house of the Lord and for the service of the house of God, and they were all under the authority of the king. So the king was kind of he assumed the responsibility for the theological or the church life of the people. And the king was right beneath God. The king answered to God. God led the king led the people. And we come later on that the king in some places was looked at as God. With Caesar, he is God, and could make no wrong decisions or anything like that. But so David was in charge of the Israelites, and was the one kind of mostly responsible for their faith and for their worship. And it just makes me think about years later, the King of England. They had the Church of England, and you belonged to the Church of England, or the Church of different nations that way. And the King of the nation was the head of the church. And so it's that's kind of got a little bit of biblical background here with David being the speaker for the Lord, the one that was mostly responsible. And it kind of helps understand a little bit how the nation of Israel sinned when the leaders, as we read through First and Second Kings, of this one was faithful and this one wasn't, and you understand a little bit that when your leader isn't faithful, well then most likely the people probably won't be either. So it's everybody answered to the king, which makes sense in so many ways, and the king answered to God. The verse 8 says they cast lots for their duty, the small as well as the great, the teacher and the student. They were skilled with the different songs and their abilities to play, and so then they were just divided into these 24 groups that we find out from verses 9 through 31 in chapter 25. Chapter 26 talks about the divisions of the gatekeepers. And there were 4 divisions of gatekeepers, but one difference here was that these gatekeepers came only from 2 of the clans, the peoples, like they were from the Kohathites and the Merathites. So a lot of times there were people from all of the different tribes of Israel involved in different things, but for whatever reason, the gatekeepers were taken from just these two, and they're, it talks about a lot of them, like Elam the fifth, Jotham the sixth, and so they were divided into, but it was a firstborn, secondborn, thirdborn, and but the categories were there. I mean, there was listings there of ages and different things anyway, and then the sons of Obed Edom were the firstborn, secondborn, and so we're learning more of the heritage of everything that way. And yesterday I was talking with somebody, and I talked about all of this genealogy that's different places in the Bible, and how it gets kind of hard to keep track of it all. And her comment was, but every once in a while there's a good little snippet of information, or a name pops up that, oh, this is the name that we know later on, and different things that way. And I have a friend that chose the name of her firstborn son from a list of names in the Bible, and it was a name that I had never really heard before. But so there are reasons to read all of these names, but like I said, to try to keep track of them all and stuff, I don't even worry about that. But as this lady said yesterday, there are little snippets of information that come out, just like that in verse 6, that David was the king, and they all answered to the king, and we know that the king answered to God that way. So the gatekeepers were assigned their duties, and we have a list of them, and verse 12 starts out, these were the divisions of the gatekeeper among the chief men, having duties like their brothers to serve the house of the Lord. And they cast lots for each gate, the small as well as the great, and so then it says the east gate went to Shilamah, and they cast lots for all of these, for the north gate and for the west gate, and it says on the east were 6 Levites, the north were 4 each day, and the south 4 each day, and this, so there were, evidently some gates were more used than others, or maybe bigger, wider gates and stuff, but they were all assigned specific tasks that way. It wasn't just a kind of we'll do this today and this tomorrow. Starting at verse 20, it talks about the treasuries of the house of God, and the oversight, the keeping of the treasury, the keeping track of the money coming in and the money going out, and paying the bills, and we know that that's a tremendous responsibility to, you got to try to make sure you got more income coming in than going out, and it doesn't necessarily mean that these people with the oversight of the treasuries decided what to buy and what to sell and different things, but they were the record keepers, and oftentimes sometimes people get the mistaken notion that if they are in charge of the funds, that they can make decisions with that, forgetting that that it's the whole, or it is it's the king, the priest, it's a group decision has to do these different things. Chapter 27 deals with the military divisions and the children of Israel according to their numbers, the heads of the fathers, and or the first division, the first month, so there's a division, a group for every month of the year, and there are 24,000 in each division, so there's 288,000 people in these military divisions, that their basic task for right now is the guarding of the temple, the guarding of Jerusalem, the keeping of peace, and making sure that everything is on the up and up that way. And then it goes into verse 16, the leaders of the tribes, because there were the 11 tribes, the Levite, 12 with the Levites and stuff, and it talks about, state officials and the overall governance of the people. So we get an idea or a picture of the enormous number of people that it takes to run a kingdom, and we know that from in our world today. I think about all of the people that serve in our United States Congress and in our state divisions, and even within our towns and cities. We need specific individuals for specific tasks, and that's what we just learned in the Bible here today of King David's assignment of people for different tasks within the community.